Again, everybody. I got feedback from the previous video that I posted. Turns out the sound in that video was very choppy. My bad, I should have reviewed the video before posting it, but we will do the video again. It's not a big deal. And also, I've come to realize that this series has been going on too long. Granted, it's been only 5 or 6 days, but this is not a long enough video series. It shouldn't be taking this long. So I'm going to finish all the videos in the series today. And hopefully by the time you watch this video, the subsequent videos are ready as well. For today's topic, today's topic will be conditional rendering is where you render certain elements subject to certain conditions being true. Lot of certains there, and let's dive right into the codes to see how conditional rendering is implemented in React. Before we do that, let's review the application. This is how the app was. The app essentially shows today's date. It's got seconds changing every single second, and there's a button. Click on the button. What happens? Is there an error? Oops, something's supposed to happen, isn't it? Click the button. Save. Come on. Why isn't the color changing? The color is supposed to change. Click on it. It's unexpected. Let's make sure that this is indeed getting called console.log e. Refresh. Control Shift I. Command Option I. It is getting called. Yet I made a mess here. The property is supposed to be background. Okay, it should work now. Refresh. Click the button. It turns red. Click it again. It turns green. Right here. The button turns red. Click the button. Turns green. Okay, this is conditional rendering. Let's get down to conditional rendering now. Okay. So how was the color change being implemented? The color change was being implemented by this click handler. Every time the click handler is clicked, we run a this.setState. The state checks whether the previous button background was green, and if it was green, it changes it to red. If it was not green, it sets it to green. We did this all inside the setState function. Is there something else we can do? Sure, there is. And that is, we can implement the same functionality using conditional rendering. I'm not sure which one's more efficient, but for the sake of brevity, we will be covering all the main concepts, and conditional rendering is one of the main concepts, right? So, what we're going to do is we'll take a copy of the button and we'll paste it right below it, right? And we're going to refresh, and we get two buttons now. You click one, the color of both change because both of them are using background color that is retrieved from the same state property, which is button background. I hope you guys are following along. I have realized that the video is going a little faster than the previous videos, but I really hope you guys are following along. Now, implement conditional rendering over here. What we can do is, instead of forcing this one's background color to be retrieved using state, we can hard code it like so, and we can change this to green. Now we'll have two buttons whose colors never change, right? But the two of them have the same click handler. Is there something we can do inside the click handler? I think there is something we can do. Remember that in JavaScript, this always evaluates to true. We'll call this Boolean because, well, there's no such thing right now, but we will be using this as a placeholder. So false and 1 plus 1. This should print the number 2 on the screen. So let's refresh it. Oh, my bad. Let's try hello and refresh it. Why is it working? Maybe div hello. It wasn't working because I'm supposed to be doing true. There you go. Okay. Conditional rendering is certain conditions being true will cause certain elements to be rendered. Rendered whole expression evaluates to true. This whole expression evaluates to true if the first argument is true. Remember, in JavaScript, expressions have a truthy value. So the word hello, which is an expression, has a truthy value. So true and truthy value will return a Boolean true, which will cause the expression to be rendered. False and a truthy value will equate false, and that will cause the expression to not be rendered. So if I change this guy here to false, this expression will not be rendered. There you go. Now, back to the buttons. How does this help us in case of buttons? Instead of button background, a string that equates to red green, we'll turn this into a boolean. So we'll call it button green. Every time the button is clicked. So we do not this dot state dot is button green. This causes value the property to be toggled every time a button is clicked. And we will start this off with true so that the green button is rendered first. Now let's nothing impressive. I click happens. Not very impressive, right? No, it's not impressive. Let's fix that. This dot state dot is button green. This is a boolean, right? If this is a boolean, the second can be an expression that will be rendered if the first argument is true. Similarly, we can we can show the red button if the first argument is not true. How? Like so. We can flip the first argument's value by inserting an exclamation point, right? So before we refresh, let's ask ourselves what we expect when the application is refreshed. This dot state dot is button green starts off with a default value of true as shown in line number 14. When one of the buttons is clicked, the value of is button green is toggled. And when the value of is button green is toggled, this evaluates to false. So the green button should no longer appear. And also, this particular expression in line number 44 evaluates to true when the button is clicked for the first time, because when the button is clicked for the first time, the value of is button green changes to false, and negating a false gives you true, right? Now let's verify our hypotheses by refreshing the app. There you go. When the app is first loaded, you see a demo button. When you click it, you see a red button. Now, these two buttons aren't the same button. It's not a matter of the background color of the first button being changed. And in order to verify that, let's give this an ID. Green hyphen button. Similarly, we're going to give the other button an ID red hyphen button. Red hyphen button. Refresh. Command Option I should open developer tools. Where are my developer tools? Command Option, beautiful. And if I click on it, it says the ID is green button, right? Now when I click it, it says the ID is red button, going on to show that these are two separate elements. It's not the same element. Now, is there anything else we have to know about conditional rendering? Let me check. There's one last thing we have to know about conditional. This particular chunk of code is a little too long, so let's use the ternary Boolean operator instead of using the AND operator, I'm going to check if this is true. If it's true, I'm going to show the green button. If it's not true, I'm going to show the red button. The whole chunk is not necessary. Let's split this code for clarity. Okay, let's see what's going on here. There seems to be quite a lot. In line number 42, we evaluate a certain Boolean expression. In this case, is button green. We evaluate this dot state dot is button green. If it evaluates true, we show this guy, lines 44 to 46. If it evaluates false, we show this guy, lines 50 to 52. Okay, let's refresh the page. Is my behavior the same? Yep, the behavior is the same. Bingo. Well, this is all we have to know about conditional rendering, and I will see you all in the next video.